Are we in?
Yep.
Yes, good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Hello,
Hi, hello,
hello,
hello.
hello.
We have on our show, Love, Spices, and Wellness, we have a very special guest today, Amotz Plessner, a composer, a music composer,
Yes.
that I personally know him for over 20 years. I haven't seen him in 21 years, though. I mean, I always knew him as the big and talented musician. Back then, I think you were not a producer yet, was it?
I
Right?
was barely a musician back then.
Yeah.
Were you guys talking about back then? When?
We're
How
talking
long
about,
ago?
well,
We're talking about the 90s.
yeah, we're
The
talking about the 90s,
90s.
back in
Yes.
the
Oh my
day.
gosh.
The
None of
90s
us had
actually
kids,
happened.
I think, back then, right?
No.
But we had mutual friends that a lot of them were musicians,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it was fun times. A lot of them talented musician,
Very
I must
talented.
admit.
Yes.
And on the personal note, he even was involved in this little project of mine. One in the old days of my creative days, we had me and Eva, a friend that lives in Israel, and we had our own theater show. And her husband wrote the songs for the show. And Amotz, together with the other friends, Ronnie and Sur and all, and who else was there? I don't remember, but
I think that was it. Yeah.
yeah. So and no, Yossi was also singing. So they created like original music for the show. It was amazing. It was all musician. It was really fun and all that. So yeah, I was looking through my, I went through the archaeology diggings. I was in touch with Raquel, and I was trying to bring Tal over. Maybe one day I'll bring him here too. So
Right.
she goes like, "Why don't you talk to Amotz and bring him over?" So I was lucky
Nice. Here I
to
am.
get to do it, and I'm very excited.
Yes.
So
It's me.
without
Amotz.
without further interruption on my end, I'm going to
Yeah.
introduce
So,
you.
and I don't really know Amot, so it's a
Yes,
pleasure to meet you, Amot.
yes.
Hello.
And I don't
Hi.
think we've been
Nice to
formally
meet you.
introduced. I'm Ilana Weinstein,
Yeah.
and we have a show with Bat-Sheva in the morning that's called Boker Tov. And
Very appropriate.
Bat-Sheva graciously invited me to join to meet you this podcast right now we're having. So it's a pleasure.
Very nice. It's
And
my
so tell
pleasure.
us from 1990s until
Oh
forward
boy.
2007, 19,
All right.
where have you
Um,
been? What have
I
you been doing?
I have been writing music ever since, both here and in Israel, mostly um, for television, but also a lot of advertising, and um, both in Los Angeles and in Israel. And I worked for many years with Chaim Saban,
Yes.
I
where
know
we
Chaim
did
Saban.
my first job with Chaim was a show called X-Men that I did with Noam Kaniel. Noam Kaniel and me
Oh,
did
I remember the
the
young kid, the singer, Noam Kaniel,
the young
Ima
kid.
Sheli,
We're still young.
right? It
Age
was
is
Ima
just
Sheli.
perception in your
Wasn't that his
brain. That's
famous
it.
song, Ima Sheli
Yeah,
something?
yeah, he had a few very famous songs, and he's a super talented guy that we still work till this day. We work together.
No, wow. So what does he
Yeah.
do? I mean,
He
he's
lives
still.
in Paris for many years, but right now he's doing, among other things, I think the new Power Rangers.
Oh, so he's
He's
not singing anymore, obviously.
no, he well, he does sing, but I don't know.
So he's involved in production mainly, or
He's a composer.
oh, he's also a
Yeah,
composer.
yeah. He
Oh,
writes
wow,
music for television shows.
cool.
Yeah,
In France. For
it's
French television or for all television?
mostly, well, France and the U.S. There's a lot of animation that goes on that's co-production, both France and the U.S. A Disney show that I did with Noam recently, Disney XD. called Wreck-It Rabbit was both in French and in English, and it's a co-production French Disney, and so Noam is involved with a lot of French TV and American TV.
That's beautiful. So from being
Yeah.
friends in the 90s, you guys keep in touch from the group of friends, and everybody went to different creative circuits, or
Yeah, yeah. Noam is a composer and I'm a composer, so we kind of stayed in the same business together. Some of these other people are more players.
People
that
went
Bat-Sheva
different
was
ways.
talking about.
how did Bat-Sheva found you after all these years?
That's what I said, through a mutual friend. She's
Yeah.
a makeup artist. She works also for the movie industry and all that. And they stayed friends for all this time,
Many years,
since those days.
like
But
a
I want to
friend.
mention that we opened the show with a couple of your compositions from the Miranda show.
It's called Haters Back Off. It's a Netflix,
Haters Back Off on Netflix.
on
right,
Netflix.
with Miranda Singh.
It's starring Miranda Sings and also
She's
co-written.
hysterical.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
She's an amazing talent.
I
learned-
showed you.
I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, I
Yeah.
really, Miranda, you're hilarious. Absolutely admire you.
Yeah.
Is she normally like this? Is this as a normal person, or is it?
No,
okay?
this is
No?
completely a made-up character that Miranda's name is Colleen. Colleen Ballinger made up this character when she was a college student.
So it's not even her real voice, right? It's a.
It's an affected voice.
Right.
She doesn't sound like that in real life. And
I hope
and-
not.
She has. You can see. She's got a very large following on YouTube as
Yeah,
herself as
huge.
well.
Yeah. Yes.
So you
yes.
can see her
Both.
as herself, and you can see her as her character. But Haters Back Off is the home life of the character Miranda Sings.
Oh,
And the
okay.
character Miranda Sings is very interesting phenomena because she started it out as a joke between her and her friends. I think she went to musical theater department in a college, and this character was a made-up character of somebody who is not particularly talented, or maybe the opposite of talented, but is 100% convinced that she is talented.
Sounds like me.
Sounds like a lot of parts of us in general, and I think that's where people connect to her so much. And it was meant to be a joke. And now I think over 2 billion views later.
Wow.
And a Netflix TV series, and it's she's playing kind of the anti-hero. Miranda is not a nice person. But there's a twist that while Miranda is not nice and pathetic, she thinks she's so talented, but she's not, and she teaches singers how to sing really, really badly.
But it sounds like, I mean, at least from the parts that I saw and some of them, that she has a really nice voice.
She does.
She has an amazing voice.
She has an amazing voice.
Yeah.
She's a really good singer.
Yeah.
But
Well,
she has this comical view of how you should sing. But it was very interesting to score because the juxtaposition, Miranda is a very low-class character that lives with her mother and her uncle in a very dysfunctional family. And the music is all symphonic and beautiful, and kind of wraps it up like a fairy tale of this very dysfunctional fairy tale family.
So this is my question. Like when somebody come to you with an idea like the Miranda show, okay? So they come to you with with the idea, and they give you a total freedom to basically create and compose whatever comes to mind, kind of, or
Yes, total freedom is what normally studio heads and producers give artists. But so sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and it depends. On this project, Colleen heard specifically music that I wrote for an Addams Family movie, and she really liked the idea of going in that direction with the music. So right off the bat, it was my sound that we were emulating from another movie, but then adding the specifics of her character and the show's character to it. So it was a modification of that. And but many times there's a thing called the temp score, which is when they edit a TV show or movie, they put temporary music in it. And
so you have to build upon, I mean,
you have
from
to
that basically
be inspired by it, copy it, whatever. So this is a thing in Hollywood, and a reason why so many scores sound the same.
Yeah. Are you inspired personally when somebody tells you, Amotz, I want you to write music for this show, and they give you stuff to listen to? Are you inspired by that, or you find yourself, I can do better than that?
So it's very complicated to answer this question, but in general, I get very excited to any new project. And I get even more excited if we can talk about the dramatic material and the storytelling aspect of it, and then to think about or feel what music would be appropriate. A little less excited when there is temporary music and I'm supposed to maybe sound like somebody else's music. But that can be inspiring too. There's a lot of good composers in this world, and you can learn a lot by listening to other people's music. So
I actually happened to meet Sharon Farber. I don't know if you.
Yes, I know Sharon.
So we were on a flight together, and we talked through the flight, and then I found out that she's this fabulous composer.
She is.
That's
wonderful.
The one we saw.
This is the one that we met at the
Israeli
movie. Yes, she's wonderful.
Yes,
I want to move, so we can talk about another segment. If we can choose the Marvel one, so we'll talk a little bit about that. So we'll get a chance to let them listen to a few minutes of it.
Okay, here we go. This is X-Men, Astonishing X-Men Gifted.
So that's the one you did with Noam?
No.
Oh.
This is a lot later. Wait. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Just a few minutes.
We are back with Amotz. I'm going to change your name.
Everybody does. It's okay.
I want the audience to have a little touch of the music from the X-Men, Astonishing X-Men from Marvel. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that one? How did that all started?
Well, I've been writing music for X-Men shows and in general Marvel shows already from the Saban period, where that was really the first show that made Saban Entertainment as big as it is. And so this particular theme was written for an X-Men show called Astonishing X-Men Gifted, which Joss Whedon wrote, and the show is intended for an older audience, people that grew up on the original show that
Right.
Noam and me wrote the music to, and 20 years later are still into X-Men.
There's a lot of adults that are into the Marvels and all that, the comics. It's a big
a lot
field.
of, yeah, and X-Men is an interesting and complicated show, and it has a large array of characters and a lot of different interpretations.
I know my son's favorite was Wolverine. He used to have the costume and the whole...
yes. And I wrote the original theme for Wolverine.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this show was more for adults, and it's Marvel releases it under the title Marvel Knights because it's more adult material. It's not Saturday morning type cartoons.
So this, I'm going to go to your creative.
Yes.
Creative juices.
Okay.
Do you hear the music all the time? Like is because like every great composer or anybody, any great genius, at the end of the, like, you're going to open your head, you're going to see what they're going to see inside your head. Like,
well, I'm not sure I want them to see everything that's inside my head, but parts of it are nice, and that's the one thing I actually have. One day I used to have a partnership and doing commercials for television. And my partner Jordan Tarlo and I, for 10 years, did most of the music for Ralph Lauren, Victoria's Secret, Revlon, and Neutrogena. And it was a lot of work, and the studio was in Jordan's house, and one day we got a new commercial in, like we had a lot of days like this, and I walked in and Jordan was sitting there, and he starts the video of the commercial, and I'm sitting at the keyboard, and I immediately start writing something. And I thought to myself, that's pretty amazing that you're just sitting down and there's no hesitation at all. And I thought to myself, I wonder if one day I come to the studio and something starts and I don't know what to write. And it never happened. And so the answer is yes. When I sit down to write something, especially if it's for picture, because writing for picture is almost like writing the music to a song or a poem. So you have already a story to inspire you, and it's pretty much immediate what comes out, and very instinctual with me. And later on, there's a more intellectual process of refining and making decisions about what to do with the initial burst of whatever that is. But the initial burst is something that's always been with me.
And that's when you know that you have it. This is
my talent.
This is your talent.
Is I know what to write for a picture.
Did you always know that as a child too?
The first time I thought about the fact that I should write music was after I started writing music. And first of all, there's there are players that are a lot more talented than me. So when I was looking at, and I had some pretty genius friends as players, and looking at that and thinking that's not really my arena of competition, but realizing that writing is my arena of competition, and that is something that I wanted to do since I'm probably 9 years old, and I've been doing it since I'm about 9 years old.
You've been playing instruments since you were a kid?
Yeah, and writing, and
actually writing at 9 years old.
I don't remember if it was exactly 9, but the first thing that I wanted to do with the guitar was write my own songs, and so
you did.
So I did, and I've been doing that ever since. But so
that's amazing. Is your whole family musical, or are you the
musical, I guess? But I had a grandfather that used to go to the concerts with a score and annoy everybody by conducting behind the conductors, back, from the audiences. And but no, my family is not. I don't come from a music family as a profession at all.
The people, the musician that when you write a composition, the musician that you work with, are there a regular musician that you work with, or you change as according to the?
I work a lot with orchestras, so I'm working with 60 people at a time.
But are they the
and
same
some of them
usually?
I used to record in Israel a lot with an Israeli orchestra, and yes, I have still friends from.
You're talking about like the Israeli Philharmonic, or?
It's the Israeli Kamerata, and with reinforcements from Rishon or Ra'anana or Tizmorat Rashut HaShidur, the broadcast.
The reason I'm asking is I'm just curious if those musicians that you're working with, they probably get to know, how composers, they get, if he works with an orchestra, they get to know him already, and they get to, they get familiar with.
I've been recording, like when this series I did with Haters Back Off, and then another movie called Struggle that I did for Netflix. I worked with the same people, and Haters Back Off is 2 years of working with the same orchestra over and over again. So they know the materials, they know me. It's not a personal friendship. I do this over the internet. But there is certainly a connection felt that they kind of understand my sound, and it's a very nice connection to have with a group of 60 people.
Because if let's say you don't have your original group or orchestra, so how do you go to, like, if it's a new project that you're going to work with, and you can't use the same people, or you don't choose to use the same people, so how do you go about finding the musician to connect with, to work with?
Well, in the orchestral world, there are existing organizations or just contractors. Mm-hmm. So the quality of if you go and record around the world, it's Australia or London or Budapest or Moscow or Tel Aviv, there are organizations in place that you can just hook into, and the quality of the musicians is very high, in at least in probably all of the Western world. You can find, and some of the Eastern, of course.
Amotz, when are you strongest? Are you strongest in creating in the morning, afternoon, nighttime? When is your creativity juices are at their prime?
When the deadline is getting closer. It's Yeah, I don't think there's an hour to it. I like composing jet lagged in Israel.
Mhm.
I wake up at 2 in the morning, and by 6 in the morning, I've composed a whole lot of music.
That's amazing. Speaking of Israel, you brought a lot of stuff for Israeli
Yeah,
programs.
I want to put the
Yeah.
Isardut, the
Let's-
survivors.
sure.
Let's
So,
our
yeah,
audience,
let's find it.
Let's
So
find it.
hear
here.
have a
something.
chance to.
Here it is. You still do
There
it.
we go.
Just, are we ready?
Yeah, we were ready.
Back on.
That was exciting. I
Yeah.
felt like I'm supposed to
Yeah, I'm
run
exhausted.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Exhausted.
yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
the music that was composed for Isardut. Isardut is Survivor. It's the show that basically it's a franchise show that we have it here too in the state.
Yes.
It's a different, same format, but different.
Different producers and different participants, and this is the Israeli, the theme for Israeli.
So what was
Survivor.
exciting about that show, Isardut?
What's not exciting about that show?
No, I know it's exciting. A lot of challenges. I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
But like
It's the
Creatively
most
thinking.
interesting part for me with Isardut was the cultural differences between Isardut in Israel and Isardut in the U.S. And I also wrote a separate theme for Isardut in the Czech Republic.
oh, they have it there too.
They have it there too,
Wow.
and they have it all over the world.
Yeah.
And so when I first was thinking about the music, I was looking at American Survivor, and then this theme, this is the second theme Hisaldut has in Israel, because Hisaldut used to be owned by Channel 10 in Israel, and then Channel 13 bought the rights,
Mhm.
and but they somehow didn't have the rights to the theme song.
Oh, okay.
So they needed a
had
new
to
theme
create-
song. And you know what? I'm not sure if they just wanted to replace the theme song or didn't have the rights. I don't know, but they called me. And so I started looking at Survivor in the US and Survivor in Israeli older episodes. And I realized that I would need to write very different music for the Israeli Survivor, because it's just a lot more aggressive.
Oh.
People,
We're more aggressive.
Israelis need spice. Spice.
Israelis yell more,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
we do.
and music is an expression. It's a similar expression, or it's a different variation of talking, and when people are more excitable and more bigger with their gestures and how angry they get. There's a particular Israeli anger that maybe all of us share sometimes.
It's funny.
It's passion.
It's passion.
It's funny.
it-
Someone. I don't remember where we were at this event or something, and there was a bunch of us, and of course being really loud and all that. And there was one guy like next to us, says, "What's going on? What's going on?" I thought we were fighting or something.
Do you
I said,
need
"No,
some
no,
help?"
no, we're just chilling here. We're just, talking about something." Goes like, "What's going on? It sounds like you're fighting, like you're mad at each other, like so aggressive." Yeah.
Yeah, no, my wife used to think that I'm upset with her sometimes when I wasn't. I was just loud.
Yeah.
And
it's an Israeli gift.
It's an
We're
Israeli
all
gift. I
born-
think also maybe German gift that I have from,
yeah.
from
Italians and Russians also
Russian.
share. But that's That's wonderful that you. It's amazing actually that you have the cultural intelligence to create music based on the culture and knowing the ups and downs and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, music is culture, and that's the most basic thing about music is we know who we are. A part of how we know who we are is what music we listen to, and what music we grow up to. It's a big part of our psyche, and so there's some sort of, I guess, international music that's developed, but there is a lot of local sensibilities to music, and some of them are incredibly strong, where people can only express it. It's like a language. It's like you will always have that accent in your music, just like in your language.
Thank God that we have music, because with music we can open a lot of doors to places and people that you wouldn't be able to reach in another way. Unfortunately, in this time and in this time in the world, they take advantage of it, and they're taking it to the wrong place, like what they do with artists, the artists that want to come and perform in Israel, and they try to convince them they took music that was a pure thing. And
well, the statement music is a pure thing is something we can talk about.
Yeah.
But music is just a part of how we describe our experiences or inform about our experiences in the world. So
it's a vessel.
It's a vessel that I'm not sure is any different than any other type of communication. It certainly is a lot more fun than talking, or maybe even more fun than anything else we do.
And I think it's pure. It's pure because when you have music, you don't have, it's normally not involved.
Because it's just emotion. It's not an actual narrative that yeah. But that way it is pure.
Based on music, based on the tone of the music, you can predict what's going to happen in a story.
Yeah.
If the music is soft, it's something gentle. Music is harsh, you're definitely going to have somebody's going to get murdered. So it's
suspense.
Music prepares you to what's going to take place.
Yes, music is a very sound is very powerful. We react very powerfully to sound.
Yes.
And basically music is a creation of tension, getting away from what's comfortable and coming back. And all music is that way, except maybe in a horror picture or things that are just meant to keep you suspended and never going back. But even then, if you don't ever go back to a place that's comfortable, I don't think it's a satisfying emotional arc.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what music is going. It's most music is like a hero's journey. It's going away from where it's comfortable, going to a place, and I mean that also technically. That's how music works with the sound frequencies. You have a center of a pleasing chord that always is the beginning of a piece of music, and then it goes away from that center and creates musical tension, and then there is a resolution, and it's it's like any story that is of a hero that goes and fights his demon and then goes back to where he came from. Most stories are that, and almost all music is that.
When you mentioned
Beautiful.
suspense, it reminded me, the movie by the master of suspense, Fellini.
Mhm.
There is a movie, I don't know if you've seen the movie Armor Code.
Yes.
So the whole movie, you sit on the edge of the seat just because of the music, and there's nothing going on. There's no and you're like totally freaked out, suspended, like crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all from the music.
Yeah.
All from the music.
Well, before sound came, before we actually had sound and text,
it
was all music. Charlie Chaplin, it's all music.
It's all music.
It's just music.
Yeah.
I just want to try to squeeze another one since we're, with Israel and all that. I want to, the reunion you had with Idan Reichel, the famous, is also an amazing composer and all that.
Yes.
And together you did the work with Omer Farouk, which I really like. So let's put that real quick. I want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
So we're back.
Hello.
Back alive.
Alive.
That was beautiful. It was such a beautiful
Thank you.
sound. It was a pleasure. I didn't want it to end.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So this was a collaboration with another great musician, Omar Farouk. And so in this particular piece that we listened to, that was with Idan playing the piano here? Or?
Idan is playing the piano here.
Right.
And is a co-writer on this piece.
So you composed the whole album.
No, I produced the whole album.
You produced the whole album.
This is. Did I write another track? I wrote two tracks.
Two tracks.
On this, and the rest of it is mostly Omar, and then Yasmin Levy wrote a song for this album that she also sings on.
He's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him in concert here. Actually, I don't know, maybe I want to say 15 years, something, because he hasn't. I don't think he performed in a long time.
Or in LA?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think he performed.
Because
he performs here from time to time.
Yeah, because
I know he was just in Israel and in Greece and in Turkey.
Yeah.
And I saw him in Israel once in the Oud Festival in the Jerusalem Theater.
Yeah, that would be something like the right niche for him.
The right.
What is your favorite music when it comes to your personal taste? What is your favorite?
I can't say that I have a favorite music.
What do you listen to when you have your free time?
I listen to jazz. I listen to orchestral music. Um, as far as 20th century composers, I love Aaron Copland. I love Shostakovich. I love Stravinsky. I love Rachmaninoff. We can add him. And I love jazz, and I love minimalism. Philip Glass and Steve Reich, and I listen to all sorts of music and all sorts of ethnic music, and so I don't really have an answer to what's my favorite music.
Sometimes you hear on the news that this musician and this musician, their music has been stolen, has been knocked off. Is there such a thing as an original music? Is anything original
That's
anymore?
a really good question, and so I think the answer to this is yes and no, but there's almost nothing that we know or learn or create that didn't come from somebody else. We're a group animal. We're always, even the most genius creators among us learn from other
Or
influence,
yeah,
and there's if you think of maybe the one of the most original painters, Picasso,
Right,
with Cubism,
yeah.
and Picasso came with the concept of Cubism after dinner with Matisse, and Matisse showed him African art, and he went home and he made his version of that.
Right.
So yeah, he stole it from African art, and so the world. This is just how we think. Everything, music, philosophy, is a continuation of thousands of years of learning from each other. So, and now in the world of Hollywood and media, people a lot of times play composers this music because that's what they like, so they want something like that. And if the composer wants to have a job, he should do something like what the client wants. And so there's even more pressure that's client based. But when I think about it, a variation of that pressure is always there from clients. If it's an audience that wants to hear a famous rock band play similar things to what they already did before, there's always this pressure to.
Yeah, those little variations of all the holiday songs that have been changing. Rod Stewart made one, and Michael Jackson made one. It's all the same, but just have a different tone to it.
But this is how you get, in a way, this is how you get influence. Like, probably when you start with something, you probably go somewhere and you listen to something that strikes something in your head, and
so it's either unconscious or conscious. A lot of times it's unconscious. A lot of time it's connecting all sorts of dots that actually make you do something original. And what I wanted to say also about original and what you were talking about stealing.
Right.
My opinion about stealing, and I've seen many times, like I had a lot of very well-known commercials that would run. And I could tell that some other poor schloch got my music that he had to copy. Yeah. And you can hear it. I would do a Ralph Lauren commercial, and then I would hear a Buick commercial that has very similar music, like very similar.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't upset me at all. But first of all, because I'm familiar with the process. And so there's a camaraderie, like I know what the other person needed to go through. but also the bigger picture of the knowledge that this is how humans function is by learning from each other.
Right.
I personally think these lawsuits about copyright infringements are way improper. Like, to me, if somebody doesn't come into my house at night and steals my computer, they didn't steal my music. That's just my opinion of
It's all
this.
about money. You know,
Yeah, it's all
the
about
bottom line,
money.
it's about money. Somebody
people
has beautiful
figured-
music, makes tons of money.
Yeah.
Let's just take it a little bit of it, tweak it, and let's make the same money. You know,
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Yeah,
Why pay you if you can pay some
sure,
struggling,
yeah. Sure,
kid?
and struggling kids get you jobs, so
Yeah,
I'm
that's
fine
true.
with that.
Speaking of kids, we spoke earlier before we went into this podcast. What advice would you give a young musician that knows that they're talented, but struggling and going through hardships and kids that are really should be, having the encouragement? What would you advise them?
My advice is be a badass. Be better than who you need to be better than in order to get the job. So that's the only way to go as far as I'm concerned. There is no shortcut at being good at anything, and definitely not in music.
Being good is not going to get you anywhere.
Well,
right?
being good, I think being good plus having a personality that
Yeah.
you have some sense of what your value is and what the market is and what maybe, don't look at just what you want to do. Look at what your capabilities might be and how it might fit in the marketplace. Look at what you might have to offer to a certain genre of music, or if media. Investigate about what music makes money. What are the different avenues? Anybody that's even probably even on a surface look, you can immediately see what markets are for music, and then adjust yourself to the world. Don't wait for the world to come to you. If your goal is to get a job, if you want to go down in history as a super genius, maybe that will take a little bit more time, and it's hard to know how talented you are or how good you are. In fact, I think it's impossible to know how talented or good you are unless people tell you how talented or good you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should listen to people. If you do something and people really like it, or if people are telling you you're good, maybe you're good, and follow your strengths, not just your passions, but also your strengths. If you're a good writer, don't try to be an actor.
Stay where you're good.
Stay where you're good.
Yeah.
The career span is 40, 50 years. It's not a ton of time to make mistakes and to learn new things,
Martin Scorsese, the
Mhm.
director,
Yes.
has a book, and I wrote in his book that he said, in today's world today, with all the creativity and so many people are trying to make it, the only way to be successful is to do something extreme, like terribly extreme. If you want to play an actor who has been in jail, go to jail, or live there, actually fail and live it. Is it the same with music?
I think, yes. I think that the biggest musical stars did some things extreme and did some things their own way. There is a class of artists that try to emulate and other people, and that's how they they can tell, and I was just saying it, at least at the beginning, that's how you can tell if you're good or not, and also that's how you learn, by imitating others. But then there is maybe a moment where you can be inventive and really develop something that's extreme. The other thing is be repetitive, and I think that requires some luck.
You mean consistent, or is it
I mean repetitive.
repetitive?
I
Okay.
mean do the same, different variations of the same thing. That's a sound. That's how you know.
When you say that, it these days you see young kids
Mhm.
that making music. I mean, that
Yeah.
it's made out of just creating beats.
Right.
And some of it, okay, it's it's fun and all that, but some of it is really, really good, and it's they're doing really well with that.
Yeah.
And this is without,
Friends
and like
who
you
do
said,
that.
it has
Yeah.
to do with their being repetitive.
Well,
in a
in
way.
that way too, yeah. I think I think there's something physical in music where you get to stop time a little bit. I think that's part of what we enjoy in it so much. And a beat is just another a way of stopping time and having things repeat in a sequence over and over again, and you can sustain this kind of joy for a few minutes. That it's like stopping time, and beats are awesome.
Because this is what a lot of really young,
Yeah.
really young kids are doing these days. I
Can
think
we
with
hear a little
music.
bit more music?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure,
Do
sure.
we have
So,
time
yeah.
for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have time for a few more. I mean, a few more minutes. What do we
There
got?
is.
Should you choose something special for us?
Do you want like an Israeli movie, Minotaur, or?
Sure, whatever you feel like.
Yeah, we
Whatever
have
you want.
lots of
So-
Israeli listeners. They'll appreciate it.
Good. I like Israelis.
Is it playing?
I think it is.
That's so
Yes.
beautiful.
Oh,
I just
thank
went to
you.
vacation somewhere.
Thank you.
So this was this is the last piece that unfortunately our last piece that we have to share with you guys, but they can definitely go to the website and enjoy all this music. It's under AmotzPlessner.com. That's the website.
AmotzPlessner.com.
And you go to music and you get a chance to listen to all this beautiful music he composed. This was done also, it's based on a Hebrew book.
Yeah, Minotaur.
Minotaur.
And,
So what was the name in Hebrew?
Minotaur.
Minotaur, that was the name in Hebrew
the
too.
Greek word.
Okay, and
You
it
have
was
to say
turned,
Minotaur.
Minotaur.
and it was
Minotaur, I think.
it was converted, changed into, not changed, but,
Adapted.
adapted
To
into a movie,
yeah,
and
yeah. By Dan Turgeman,
Dan
who
Turgeman,
also
I know.
is starring in it.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy.
Yeah, very talented. I
And-
did 2 movies with him.
What's the other one?
It's called Golden Pomegranate, which he
Okay.
directed.
Also an
So
Israeli
it's
movie?
also
It's an Israeli movie about the first aliyah to Israel from Yemen in the 1890s. Beautiful
Maybe,
story. And it's also with Achinoam Nini.
Maybe
okay.
Poogie can bring it to the festival. There's so many movies that we're not aware
That
of.
we're not aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's. I mean, I can sit here for hours and just listen to the music, but
Thank
I
you.
have one more
Thank
question.
you.
It's been on my mind from the beginning, and I just
Yes.
want to get this out.
Yeah.
So in medicine,
Yeah.
Sometimes they recommend to bring in music, classical music, like Chopin or Beethoven,
Right.
for people who are ill.
Yeah.
And saying that these musics, the sounds and the notes have healing properties to the brain. The brain understands the notes and starts the healing process.
Right.
Is this true? Is this a myth?
It makes sense to me because it's meditative, and I think meditation is very healthy, and I think it's a repetition of a rhythm, of a relaxed rhythm, is something that could definitely help you when you're ill. I think it's very similar to meditating.
It's also used in teaching, concentration, when kids are taking tests and preparing for tests. It's
Interesting.
also being used as
music. Listen, there is a school. It's the base of it's called Waldorf. Waldorf was a German
composer.
No, professor, educator.
Yeah.
That he.
Yeah.
So it's very important for the brain, music education. So and they emphasize it from the beginning. They have the kids. I think second grade they have to learn already a type of wind instrument, and then they can develop their own style and love to
in general in schools. My daughter has probably 3 hours of music every day in school, in middle school.
Oh, which school does she go to?
To A. Wright in Calabasas.
Oh, A. Wright? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So she's also have the bug, the Chaydak Musica.
Is she a musical genius?
I think she's a genius. I don't know if she's a musical genius, but she's smarter than me.
What does she play? What instruments?
She plays bass.
She plays bass.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
Bigger than her for sure.
It is bigger than her. It is. It's fun watching her on the bass. Yeah.
All right, guys, we have to finish our show. So again, we want to thank Amotz Plessner for coming and sharing his talent, his amazing talent with his amazing music. And it was a great to connect again after all these years.
Very
oh my
good.
God!
Hopefully not 20 more.
Yeah, I hope
you
so.
should invite Amotz for Shabbat dinner.
Yes.
Definitely.
Bat-Sheva is a fabulous cook. Where's your cake?
Oh,
are we going to share it?
Yes. Yes.
I'm there.
I'm a holistic health coach, so it's all like into the natural and healthy. This cake is actually vegan and gluten-free, but I hope you're gonna like it.
He is gonna like
gluten-free
it.
Gluten-free is good vegan. For me.
Gluten-free is easy.
This is a banana cake, so hopefully you like banana. And so we're gonna let you have a slice of cake, and maybe put music for the rest of the time.
Let's do that. Let's play something to finish.
Yeah, why don't you choose something, Amotz? And
I will choose something romantic, exciting.
Something that they will have a taste of more.
Yes.
Okay, so here's something that is a longer piece.
Just tell them what it's called.
This is called Last Swim, and it's from a movie called Till Human Voices Wake Us. It's starring Helena Bonham Carter and Guy Pearce.
Oh, I love Helena.
And yeah, it's a very emotional movie about ghosts.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
We're going to eat now.
Yes.
Thank you. Gluten-free cake.
Yes. Compliments of Bat-Sheva.